Good to meet you. I'm going to read a poem from a book called Spoilers that I wrote with Matthew Walker. It's a book about movies and death, the pandemic, love, a bunch of other stuff that comes in. The many strange purchases I make in March 2020 is a printer and a lot of paper. I imagine the internet cutting out or becoming non-functional, either because the government won't want it there or because the engineers and whoever else runs it, whoever maintains the cables that the information runs through, or all the tech workers at Twitter or Google or whatever else, will all get sick at once. And so my semi-functional brain thinks back to the things I studied in grad school, things that are only tangentially connected, and that are, in hindsight, way too hopeful and larpy as reference points. New masses and inner city voice, all of this history, for instance. On March 17th, I order a printer for $318.39 and 5 cases of 20-pound copy paper, each case with 3 reams in it, for a total of 7,500 sheets of paper, which is both a ridiculous amount of paper and not nearly enough to meaningfully support any kind of revolutionary activity. Oh well. It seems now that I was far too hopeful about things and thought myself to be a braver person than I am. The printer is moderately useful. Lenny prints some City Hall encampment agitprop from my printer. I print some flyers to try to get my building to rent strike, an effort that seems to have since been turned into a NIMBY-ish WhatsApp thread by another resident. I put up rent strike flyers in the neighborhood. My housemates and I eventually move out and never pay our summer 2020 rent. At this point, I have used maybe 500 pieces of paper or so. I have a lot left. At a protest, I want to feel the thrill of solidarity, but instead I shrink away from the helicopter diving at us, which is probably forgivable, but I do it even before most people there. My giant printer sits in my closet and prints things, mostly for work, and now I'm not even sure I can muster the optimism that would lead to a more strategic use. At the beach, the overcast sky dovetails in my brain with the hurricane brewing hundreds of miles away. And I imagine mass heat die-offs of the little purple-shelled mollusks that appear out of the sand each time the waves recede. Even though I realize later, the clouds aren't from the storm. The internet tells me it's another weather system entirely. And so it's just a cloudy day, clouds over the ocean, gray sky and gray water. Our Airbnb host has written a little note to us about practicalities. It sits in a fruit bowl on the kitchen table, so that I've seen her handwriting more than I've seen yours. It'd be nice if the note said something more profound. It's tempting to think that the DIY-ness of something indicates its superior artistic merit or the legitimacy of its politics. I look at the hurricane news constantly as the storm approaches, and you lately tease me about my wanting to be an expert on every new disaster. I want our host's little fruit bowl note to tell me what the weather will be, to update like the app on my phone. And for the weather app on my phone, instead, to tell me to please not plug the toaster oven in while the air conditioning is on. And for the banner flying over the beach at the end of a plane to include a footnote, with the footnote linking me back to the revolutionary newspaper. Not to give me knowledge so much, but to give me feelings of hope that seem impossible to come by. I could bury my phone in the sand, Siri reading aloud to the mollusks. The attractive graphic design on the La Colombe cold brew cans we buy could swap out with our pile of beach books, so that we would drink the words of the books and throw into the trash the blank leaves of paper. And then arrive home to an exhausted printer with no more ink, to all the printers in Brooklyn exhausted. And the image I want, the one from I Am Cuba and all the great leftist movies, leaves of paper dancing through the sky and falling onto people, onto the ground, spreading the word. The fantasy that if we could all talk to each other, we could grab all the power. I recall that when I tried to sell papers as a member of a Trotskyist organization, something goofy I did circa 2012, I was not good at it. The insides of my masks are full of foundation stains and little lipstick smears. My cat is tearing up paper, notes, books, everything, as an attention-seeking behavior. And our metaphor is just peeing in the ocean, getting absorbed, impossible to notice, like we're cremating ourselves and throwing our own ashes into the sea. But instead of our entire bodies being waste, we're just maintaining for now. Just moving the waste along, operating with the notion of the soul. I want knowledge to help us do something, no it doesn't. I recall leading chants at a protest once, and 2 teens came up to me and asked me if I had like a newspaper or anything, and said they wanted to get into socialism more. And I was like, they have to be cops. We're pissing in the ocean, but on the Reddit relationships advice column, there is a man seeking advice about his cat-kin girlfriend, who has begun pissing on the floor of their apartment whenever they get into an argument. I would like to adopt Radish's paper-tearing behavior, tearing bits of books with my teeth, then ingesting little pieces and vomiting them up later, until you're forced to write into Reddit about me. The waves keep rolling in, like the ocean is refreshing the feed. Okay, thanks.
And next we have Ellen Boyette.
Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm going to read a few poems from my forthcoming book, Local Version of Impression, out with Deadmall Press this winter. Most of these are prose poems. So the first one I'm going to read is called Quap. If you know the game Quap, it's this game where there's a running man and you have to use 4 keys to make him run. It's quite difficult. Quap. Playing a video game mirrors the hypervigilance of a wild animal. The field was blue with shells wrapping trees, cedars, oaks. I know, it's possible. To comment on weather or planetary alignment, given the closeness of the sun, I mean distance, always looking towards, while always away from her. Her name, you know it, no mine. More responsible donors might follow up on the child later in life, but consider the desire irresponsible. Oils, in the olden days, seemed a proper way to lengthen across our respective skins a deeper tone, obsessed with deeper tones, but frightened of tumors' growth. I didn't know what the tactile had to do with my placement in the scene, but nonetheless read it as the only form with which I could decipher between who I was and what I was to say. To do with your hands what my hands wanted, Rubik's Cube some fruit into food. A large intrusion into my way of walking or fidgeting across a perimeter. Linear molds of darkening vines on my street were all whining for rain down our gullets. Verbally confusing, iconoclasm with anachronism on purpose so I don't get murdered. I've considered, maybe too much, the sugar content in everything. Grass, is it painful or ecstasy to watch back an uncovered minute-long film of your virgin hair on a lover's lap while you sleep? Is it quixotic or kind to carefully scrub the food from where you once ate food at a certain hour, a gesture of control or lack thereof? It puts me in the sterile ward, hair and lover now razored. What did doves think of in slender calendar days the other days scoff at? In the form of newspapers crunching under car rubber. Tires, tried, tired but slept upwards of 10 hours, benign and riddled with privilege. Don't forget the swarms of rats in Paris, reminding us any century is not ours, is worthy of takeover. Be pitiful, not meek, because that's the truth. This one is called Transformative Substances Linger in the Telling. Telling the told bird, fixed in the window, that is, a window to blur the pen fixed to page I don't, tricky to make this relaxing, a practice beyond feverish pulse acceleration. Timid renderings enter in and out of my dreams about pissing gelatin, lend me airbrushed breath, it binds upon my bending. Trending the cover for money becomes musky, abbreviated to simplify M on a vial of perfume. Tool is versatile, I tell myself, like limes, so we can get some. Leaving a day early, I say, have you got a signal for love compatible across each of our agencies? Tension? Terse is the word lurid ghosts call to, tongues here and there. I get to see them only as flickers of speech now. I see though they occupy a great deal to me. The blue apparatus hits us square in the jaw, likening probes to mistletoe. Tulips exist. Tulips don't exist. Boo. Toying with me, I do too try not to fuck this all up. Tell the stray dog to come in, rinse off, curl up into an unidentifiable letter. You say, you just want to take care of something, like I made you. Go ahead, swallow battery acid instead of bitters and tonic. Hedgerows instead of hardly hedgerows, I could cry at any given moment. Tenses are matters of special progress, the mantra I tape to the morning mirror. Tunes like dunes in my head, tunes like dunes in my head, tunes like dunes in my head, I think it's working. Television my only appetite, tyrannical glow from 4:30 to midnight, 10 if I'm careful. To lose a foot is to notice setting a hand. Tend, come, lend me. Turmeric impossible to remove, toads impossible to move. Totally. Try to tell me, how are you? Try to braid 2 shoelaces beneath a monument. Tripping, I mean, ta-da. The last one I'm going to read is called, it's a long title. Were the light an animal, the dark would eat its placenta without a thought of its nutritional value. Ominous plant life is the border folding on a rim. Glasses, I like them. One kind or both. I take great pains avoiding adages and adhesives. Cleaning, I mean clamming, it alleviates a lot. When paired up. Desperate only in seconds. The format being the prompt, the endeavor scouting lentils across a nation's banner, its barrier, scouting regions of superiors, I mean suspicions. It takes vinegar, cider, cipher, it takes time. Forecast applicable when I feel them directly applied to skin, but only forehead. State-made bicycles I can't ride except when I really need to go, like right now. Get out, the truest. An applique row of beige dresses. Someday, she says to me. I handle with beige hands, listening for surfaces to hold on to. Heavy with nutrient deficiency, I mean munificent treachery. Guest, my small benefactress. She made raw chicken and I smiled through each bite. I have no alternative. I'm not alternative. I'm olive oil. I have to be bright. By which to earn. A cow coming home. Free-range discipleship. The discipline it takes. To be barren when you're 100% not barren. When you dream to hemorrhage for the good of all offspring, and you can never, ever, ever say that. Hemorrhage, no, I meant hegemony. Hallucination, I meant Helvetica. I meant Heraclitus. I meant hedonism. I actually really did mean hedonism. Pinky promise.
Okay, next is Lucia Smith Silva.
Is it okay if I sit?
Yeah, as you wish.
Thank you. I'm just gonna sit and get comfortable. I feel like we should just be like in a circle. I'm just gonna put this here. Hopefully it'll stay up. Okay, this is my, well, I'll just show it. This is my book, In Inheritance of Drowning. It's available downstairs if you're interested. I also have copies with me. So I'm gonna be reading from this book. And the book centers Hurricane Maria, which took place in Puerto Rico. As you know, unfortunately, we had Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. And the book also looks at the social, political, and racial injustices happening right now in the US. So I'm going to read 2 poems about the hurricane, and then I'm going to move right into the more political poems. The first one is called The Bee. After Hurricane Maria, you spin in a daze, punch drunk from the fetid fumes of the generator. But you have made a decision to eat, live. You leap onto a dark tan bra that is wildly flapping on the clothesline, eager to gather something sweet and bring it to the surface. And yet there is nothing there but a bare circle of cotton. You wonder how the hurricane galloped away with the flowers, triggering a vanishing act. Well, where is the magician's wand to bring back the canopy of blossoms? It must be in the wind of loss, along with the why and because. There is no way to tell you about the aftermath, slow cruelty. It is a tale that claws cell by cell, leaving wings to litter this earth. And I wrote that poem because we don't sometimes think about how the insects are impacted after natural disasters. Sometimes the focus is so much on humans when we all, really all the creatures on earth suffer. The next poem is my grandmother's photo, and this is the mementos that we lose after natural disasters that we can never get back. She smiles in black and white, cotton-pleated dress with a thick belt, showing her newlywed 25-inch waist, a size 4, long before the folds of stretched skin from 3 and shiny cascading ringlets, held by a slip of red ribbon and crystal combs. Her hand is wrapped tightly around my grandfather's, new gold branding their fingers, paid for by the weight of dirt and hot dorm mornings. With just one day, the rain washes out my grandmother's body and makes her a false whisper upon inspection. Brown dots replace her smile, and her hands are swallowed by dark spirals and bubbles. The thin edges fall into wrinkled tatters, sprinkles of paper breaking faster from sheets of water. The wind pushes her cracked and rearranged beside an overturned car, like a new broken flower in the grave. Now we get to the political poems. This is one of my favorite poems. It's called Ghost Talker Poem. It's for all the BIPOC women that go missing and do not get the national attention they deserve. Ghost Talker Poem. And for the black girls that go missing from newspaper headlines and Spotlight 5 p.m. news, what happened to them? Kick the can over, see if the bones glint in the slips of sunshine. Press your ears against the grass, listen to wet leaves. My mother in her lovely tongue, those girls are probably good friends, hanging out in the basement, wearing cigarette pants. Cigarette pants were fashionable once. They will turn up like loose change sidelined under sofa cushions, overdue books sandwiched in sweaters, favorite hairpins gagged by vents. Don't fret. Fret is a funny word for a young child, sounds like forget. Don't forget, I won't, about the missing black girls, probably already dead in a ditch or a field somewhere. I'm not supposed to think about death, passing away, keep the bucket 6 feet under, meeting our maker, which is what my teacher said. The class guinea pig has stopped moving. Mrs. Hayes poked its feet and then shoved it into a shoebox, said that we could bury it across from the tire swing in the back of the schoolyard. The dirt was ordinary, brown, hard. Eat your snacks, said my mother. Twinkies from 7-Eleven, maybe Wawa. Nothing from Superfresh or Pathmark. White filling, creamy like white fungus, oozing like zit pus, besmirching golden cake. The news says nothing about black girls that go missing, not even a speck in someone's unread newspaper. Silence is when we inherit ghosts. I see them taking victory laps every night. The next poem I'll read is called Becoming American, and this is a poem about what happens when you are pushed to assimilate. We are first to cover our hearts with our hands, sing My Country 'Tis of Thee, and wear La Americana flag shorts. We swap Medalla for Budweiser, go to Shoney's and order the all-you-can-eat breakfast. No one cares if we waste food as long as we leave a decent tip and speak quietly. Leave La Isla's conversaciones at the kitchen table. We are encouraged to buy the biggest truck and waste gas, take over the road and parking spaces. People make way when they see us. What kind of horsepower do you get? They admire strength. We are told not to ask those back home to send us pique and cafe. We should tamper our tongues and get the mild options. We go to Starbucks and get wild concoctions like unicorn berry frappuccino. Everything tastes too sweet, but this, they say, is the American way. Sugar, sugar, more sugar. Our coworkers go ahead and call us JL and AE because they butcher our real names. Joseph, Lutz, and Apagito Ephraim. Everyone goes by some initials anyway. This is what they claim. Look at JFK and MLK. Juanito is Buddy. Everyone here gets a nickname too. We are forgetting the cuentos about the iguana thief. Now it's blah, blah, blah about parking as wide as bedrooms. Rows and rows of different types of water in stores. Community meetings with 5 different types of cake and strawberry swirl ice cream. Everything is so sweet, but they give us plates wrapped in foil. It's the American way. Some signs say English only, no Spanish allowed. There is the look to keep our rolling R's to ourselves. Remember rice so that it doesn't sound like fries. Remember it's soup or salad, not super salad. And delete the word focus from our vocabulary. It always sounds like fuck us. The waiter smiles when we leave a nice tip. Tipping is the American way. Please come again, take some mints. Here are the toothpicks, goodies on the way out. How nice, how American. The junk mail is bigger and brighter. The flyer from the neighborhood dentist pops orange in chili pepper font with promises to make your teeth white, white, white. The flyer comes with a coupon, a special, something on sale. How can it be any more American than that? Thank you so much. I think that's my 10 minutes.
You all are doing great on time. So, J through 10. Alex? So you go ahead and say your full names.
Yeah, I write under Analyst the Seltzer, and I also have my books with me, Sun Cycle and Sticks. So thank you for organizing this festival. It's such a gift, and yeah, thanks for coming. Thank you for reading. I want to recognize New Orleans as the land of the Chitimacha people, and I also want to say I was set to play a 4-voice sound piece about wildfire and the feelings of apocalypse and sort of post-industrial entropy. And then walking around New Orleans and seeing this room, I actually changed my course and decided to read from a book I'm working on called Club Space that's more about surviving the aforementioned. I always get nervous. It never doesn't happen. Jewel tries to shadow a soft butch crowd dancing low to the floor. I flirt with Tiger, who leaves with Bunny. Between us is a heaven. It is paradise's set. Everything starts when Jewel puts their head on my shoulder. They have candy flipped, and I am with Molly Bloom, yes. It's hard to know who's on the inside and who's on the outside, whether the living bury the dead or the dead bury the living. I have been fastened from belonging to anything but art, but when Jewel puts their head on my shoulder, I come into the world. I alight in Tiger Light, a lipstick bibliomancy, public sex for girls. I draw a red edge. Everyone in this room is inside it. I bring Jewel inside it. The music signals ecstasy to start, a whole holly sled with bells. We are together in the glee and weather. 1,000 years of history present instantaneously. All meaning is made here and left here on the dance floor. This is not love, this is not sex, this is ecstasy. Black fingerless gloves, a wet leather waist wrap, girlish tears of tulle, cowboy hat, metallic skirt, turbo boots with large buckles, knee to ankle, plaid skirt, corset, posture collar, large jacket, sneakers, loose tee, complicated primitivist mesh, Morticia dress, Schoolgirl skirt, black hair, white tee, dog collar, high platinum pony, long black lace, black lipstick, a forehead jewel, heels, a bit of wire, an old rag of velveteen, a lion tamer's costume with diamond studs, a curling carriage whip and a fake revolver, a quill between the teeth, the aureole of a straw hat, a bunch of grapes dangling in one hand, the other holding a telephone receiver to one ear, a coin gleaming on the forehead, on the feet jeweled toe rings, ankles linked by a slender fetter chain, scarlet trousers, jacket slashed with gold, white yashmak, violet in the night, leaving free only her large dark eyes and raven hair, bloom, Molly. At the club tonight, I meet Jaguar. I stand at the edge of the dance floor in a pink bandeau bodice laced up with pink rope. I am Strawberry, bitchily commenting aloud as two men push past. They have disregarded my magnetic field with the dance floor. Tall androgyne and angst koala eyes, someone moving fast in ruffled kawaii, a black latex tank top, shy with short bleached hair. The aqueous dance floor is my gorgeous Hydra lover. Jaguar is suddenly next to me saying, "Wanna go dance?" with a lightness I received as beleaguered exquisiteness, his sunrise smile wending into goth night. I learn they does not like men. They are trying to tell me their sexual preference, but I hear it as conspiratorial. My black mesh shirt gets yanked from where I've tucked it into my miniskirt. I'm flagging, I tell Jay, tongue out like a child's. I pick it up, tie it over my eyes. I dance behind this reverse blindfold, watching Jaguar's body dance. He throws Vogue arms. I get consent and wind the mesh around his wrists. The dancing this lets out is astounding. He twists his wrists, shows them off. The energy is wild, aggressively hot. I dance behind, around, above. I make a space, protecting and enclosing my sudden new creature. On the dance floor, between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m., light radiates up her spine. All around her body, gold concupiscent rays. She is watched by the invalid sun as a baby is watched by their mother. A nest of red is pulsating always around her head. She stretches out at the soft mouth of ecstasy. Now she is glowing golden. Gold travels outward, meets her perimeter, and emanates, increasing her size. Her entire body slides over thick hibiscus. She is moving as if in seawater, caves of colored stones, eyes that flash. She pulls herself up onto the bank, legs flexed. I love the shadow world more than thee, her only thought. A choir of aquatic plants give praise. Giant white lily pad flowers open slightly. She's hunting gently. She begins to climb, heroic in overcoming everything that is not pleasure. A dragonfly climbs higher than it's ever flied. All fauna and foliage is combed back and sated, sleepy and submissive as her feet return to ground. Between 4 and 5 a.m., a spontaneous piano staircase rises through the music, climbs up and over a waterfall. It flows like a rainbow from yellowed bright ground. This beat is seeking, a feminine melodica shaking hair from her eyes, sending morning up and out through a peephole. The scalloped rhythm of the coming day, the sun fans of orange, huge phonograph barnacles flowering underwater. We are being taken through by a woman's voice. She is guiding us, small, incompactable, wrapped, vaporous, metabolizing, impactable. The curve of us flexes intricately around beauty, a lemon stolen from a tree. We are an acidophile turned the other way around to enter with each other an idea, which is a sound. Jewel text, femininity deincarnates the present. Each consciousness goes up and down. The sea is not messy. The moon is music, a curved ocean, yellow on green, blue striped piles or pylons, an announcement to turn the head of sorrow. The sun has disrobed for us. We are inside the total withdrawal of the visible. We dance infinity squandered, dropped over the ocean like a library dropping into a pool. Between the hours of 5 and 6 a.m., the sound is inside sea glass. The sea glass washes out with the tide, then comes back in a different color. All the rays of the sun, every single one, move through this room. Light projections on the radial ceiling slope over us where we dance. This beat sets the law as it builds. I am turned on by the illegality of change. I feel like crawling, some combination of a leopard and a wolf. I'm in a plaid schoolgirl skirt and a black crop top. This beat is braying, then whining, then churning. This beat is losing, no, never losing, but for a minute gets lost. Who is playing? Bravely. Music is the objectification of time, I think in full words to later text to Jewel, the thought writing atop a fully formed theory of change. Dionysus enters. I press my hands together, rub, stop at my solar plexus, project power outward, move them down, knees bent, hands together low, phallic. I become elephant, trunk to the ground, sensing. Then the music splits to butterflies. They escape around the top of my body. I have 3 heads in this sound. We are inside a terrarium of color. Morning is bound at the waist by a tight plastic sash, topped by 2 breasts caged in plastic, blue stockinged legs ending in tall blue platform shoes. She still wears the smudgy trace of the rose black ice lip gloss of night. She spits a silver wad of moon into the ocean. I step outside. My hair is in 2 French braids. Oh, the fig trees in Alameda Gardens, yes. And all the queer little streets in pink and blue and yellow houses, yes. And the rose gardens and the jessamine and geraniums and cactuses, yes. I come into day as if into form. The needle is no longer on the groove of my thoughts. My narrative is not delimited by the words I know how to say. I am called to the occasion of the sea, which swallows the hot day in its foment of green, vaguely an age, vaguely a gender. In atmospheric drop, I'm a sailor coming back to land, ridiculous, ancient, triumphant, invigorated by stupidity and sound. Thanks.
And the last reader is Alyssa Moore.
Woo! Hello, I am Alyssa Moore, as was just said. I am going to read one poem, and just as I'm gonna apologize in advance. I think it's like kind of a gross poem, but I thought like challenge your audience, you know, like you all can take it. This poem is kind of, okay, so 2 things just set up and then I will just read the poem, no more preface. Is kind of about a polyamorous breakup, which is just like any other breakup. It's just, you know, people breaking up, so it's that. I don't usually write poems about this topic, but this is that. It's also about, I think there's like this image like circulating on social media of like a bear with tapeworms like coming out of its ass. So that's what this poem is about, like those 2 things. So I'm gonna read it now. No terrible thing. Oh wait, it's in this like ridiculous note with a bunch of other stuff. Okay. No terrible thing. Mere days after the breakup and mutually deciding to stay involved, then you post, nothing really terrible has happened in a while, which is patently untrue. Consider the terrifying world we live in which parasitic creatures thrive everywhere, but specifically in the intestines of bears. Shuttled there by the bear's caloric dependence on spawning season, i.e. smoltification and the easy access to a multitude of salmon bodies riddled with tapeworm larvae.
The hunt becomes a hunt with a little something extra as salmon unknowingly delivers a parting fuck you to predator and the tapeworm passes unscathed, neatly bundled in nutrient-rich muscle, brain, skin from host A to host B's ridged walls, where they might sink their hooked mouths and unfurl segment after segment into ceaseless sucking existence. Until, unlike any unsuccessful squatter, they get forced out. No, shit out. The danger of making your home in a shitty place, but only partially so. Like a conscience-stricken adulterer, the worm is half in, half out, the image of which is easily accessible to you via BearCam on nationalparkservice.gov or adfg.alaska.gov. Go there now to see the bear trailing through stream, grass, up the tree with the still feeding tapeworm, sometimes multiple worms, cascading in meters-long ropes out of its ass. This is happening now. What about that? Isn't that terrible? And that's only what you can see. There are up to 50 species of parasites that can burrow in various organs, stake a claim, weaken the bear. I think that's terrible. Though I will admit, maybe I've given in too quickly to my simplistic analysis of the natural world. Let my weak constitution shepherd me from repulsed to concerned. Visually shocking as this is, if not weakened, the bear can take this new fate and go unfazed into the trailing, the hunting, the feeding, downing the infested salmon. And so say the wildlife authorities. It's spring, it's to be expected. And even if weakened, the blog was telling me we must not interfere. Why would I? I've seen Revenant. And anyway, the bear has a way to adapt to the worst of nature. Consider bear number 2576, male, named Joe, who broke its jaw off BearCam, plummeted in the social rankings, learned to chew gingerly on one side of its mouth, captured on BearCam, and returned to social dominance after a season or two. The world is action, reaction, harm, repair. Fluctuations happen, but if you can't bounce back, you won't get laid. I mean, fed, etc. What's an internal parasite to this greater struggle? The worm, on the other hand, and I concede, who wants to imagine the worm? But I imagine the real pull is the immense biological pressure, read urge, upon its existence. The coercive undulations of bear digestion that drive more and more of it through iron grip of bear sphincter to death. I admit I am no scholar of parasite biology, but if my rudimentary understanding is correct, I imagine this is the worst plight, being interminably linked to the expired parts of the self. Feeling the constriction of that pulsing vein veil tight upon your midpoint. There was a week I was ashamed to have loved you so fiercely. Bear and worm, it's not symbiosis. Scientifically speaking, the bear is at a disadvantage here, but let's review the optics. Doesn't bear hold worm fate in its biological process? In this moment, the bear feels nothing. The worm feels, I'm not sure. Yet it's incredible that we're feeling two different things of a shitty situation. I thought I was saying this because subconsciously I believe myself to be the bear and you to be the parasite, but it's this grief that was feeding on me. I was so desperate to get away from it, for it to move through me faster, to no longer be ashamed by how much I cared, to not write about you, producing written shrines to a love you have moved on from, though when we talk on the phone, when you sit next to me, none of it's eroded, which is how I learned time moved differently in my mind and in yours. How embarrassing to still be here, feeling, processing the thing, half in, half out. Can everyone see it trailing from me? There's a part 2, but I didn't start the first part by saying 1. I don't know. All right. 2. Surprise. Half in, half out. There are two distinct narratives, but the worm itself is still a continuous idea, or is it? I'm making assumptions based on optics, but let's get back to parasitology. I know it's segmented, does it split? I realize now that it must, but if it does, why does the segmented half trail behind the bear? Behind the bear? Why doesn't it wither up and fall away? Maybe it does. I followed an impulsive logic. I didn't think it through. The heat of the emotion led me to write. I first saw the phenomenon in an Instagram reel. I felt the shock. I felt the glow of shock that overwhelms you when you awaken to the knowledge that there is something so vile happening in the world you were not previously privy to. I felt the opening of a new world I might endure. It's harrowing to see you separate and whole. To know the answer, I'd have to study the bear cam or befriend a wildlife expert. I don't want to do that. I know that worms can reach up to X meters long, heralding the success of their evolutionary specialization, yet also guaranteeing that even after their death, there is no end to the spectacle. It is flopped about from bear behind until a snag of branch rips it clean from the iron grip of bear sphincter. Just had to say that twice, and I don't know why. Finally, a dead end. Again, I ask, now isn't that terrible? Define terrible how you will. I define it as, what the fuck is going on here? Okay, I want to know, what is your definition of terrible? I'm still asking the wrong questions. How long? I should be asking, how long can the worms live? Is every worm shit out? Maybe some survive. Is tapeworm rope the exception or the norm? As a child, my mother always chided me for asking questions I could easily look up the answers to in an encyclopedia. It's like, really, throwback. I trolled the bear FAQs and found no answer to satisfy my inquiry. I rabbit holed and saw a bear anus on a wildlife page. That was something. It looked entirely human. Some answers are too messy to know. The thought exercise takes you far enough. I see the problem in me, the need to make everything familiar. What do I know? I know no one loves a parasite, and if they do, they won't admit it in polite company. That's not terrible, nearly goes without saying. A whole type of creature founded on the contrarian idea that a man who doesn't work can in fact eat, or that one can do enough work for two or more to survive, then slot into the shadow work of remaining tucked away until it's time to feed or spawn. I didn't mean to compare you to a parasite. It's just this vestigial feeling sucking on me. Anything can develop and does from something you didn't even know you ingested. Thank you. Thanks for listening.